Back here on the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network, we're going to talk about the New England Patriots and a potential reunion with Jacoby Brissett. The questions around Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, so on and so forth, all these quarterbacks, one of them has to be the right option, right? Wrong. It's going to be Jacoby Brissett, and I'll tell you why it's Jacoby Brissett. It makes the most sense to me, and it should make the most sense to a lot of people for a multitude of reasons. One of them being that he's already been there. He spent some time in New England. He was actually drafted there in the third round back in 2016. Then after that, he went on to the Colts, the Dolphins, the Browns, and last season with the Commanders. And last season was one where, he basically didn't play. He only played 3 games, threw 3 touchdowns, but other than that, it was just as a backup role to Sam Howell. And just there's been a lot of reports saying that New England is looking for a veteran quarterback to potentially support a rookie quarterback if they were to draft one. And according to Ben Volen of the Boston Globe, he reported that the Pats have a real interest in signing Jacoby Brissett this coming season. And now, other than the fact that he's already been there, he was drafted there, he's a seasoned veteran now. He's 31 years old currently. And what's fascinating about this whole situation with the New England Patriots and Gerard Mayo trying to start something new, a new story there in Massachusetts, there's already connections with Jacoby Brissett, even though this whole coaching staff is pretty new. The connection being that their new offensive coordinator for the Patriots, Alex Van Pelt, coached Jacoby Brissett during his time there in Cleveland in 2022. And other than Brissett starting his career with the Pats, if he were to come in, he already has that relationship with Alex Van Pelt on the Browns in 2022. And if you want to talk about his time in the past in 2022 with Cleveland, he threw for over 2,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. It's not something to write home about. It's not something to get extremely excited if you're the Patriots to compete in that division realistically. But that was better than definitely than what they had this year with Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. So in that aspect, already it seems an improvement. But just from my point of view in thinking, with Jacoby Brissett and Gerard Mayo, realistically, you don't know how it would all turn out. You don't know how well Gerard Mayo will deal with the day-to-day or the week-to-week in an NFL season with losses potentially piling up, how he'll respond to that, how he'll organize his teams, how his teams will be run. There's a lot of coaches on his coaching staff, which was something that was pointed out a few weeks ago, of how many actual coaches for individual sections of a team there are on his staff. But, he's a rookie head coach. He has been a player with the New England Patriots, but, you always have to see how it all plays out in real time, in live action with Gerard Mayo. And he could be great. I could admit that. He could be a great signing for them, the great next step for them and their team. But until we see it, you don't really know. And you've already seen it with Jacoby Brissett, at least maybe not in New England. He only had moments, instances, stretches of games where he came in and just took up the backup quarterback role in games where the starter got hurt. But he's already been there. He's already been with Bill Belichick. He knows how the media works, how the team works. Yeah, it's a new coach, and Gerard Mayo is going to bring in new stuff with him. But on top of that, he could bring that experience that he had there, and it won't be a totally new situation for a new quarterback to learn how to be a professional in the NFL or in a new organization. That's the step I think Jacoby Brissett has on other players. Just looking at Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, they've never been in the Patriots building as their quarterback. Brissett has. Now, those guys might have more talent than him, but what good is their talent if the rest of the talent around them isn't up to par? Are they really going to perform that much better? And an older Kirk Cousins coming off of a ruptured Achilles, a Justin Fields that might have his confidence shaken a little bit, or you don't really know what his potential is after all that time almost wasted in Chicago with Baker Mayfield. Was the last year an anomaly, or is he actually going to turn the page and be a consistent quarterback? All these quarterbacks, along with Jacoby Brissett, have questions that follow them, but the thing that separates Jacoby Brissett is that he'll come at a cheaper price. With Kirk Cousins, it's been reported that him and the Vikings are close in negotiations, but the thing that's holding it up is the guaranteed money. Are the Patriots willing to pay that guaranteed money that much more for, like I mentioned, Kirk Cousins that's in his mid-30s now, coming off of a really bad injury? Are they willing to pay Baker Mayfield a lot of money potentially, depending on how much he wants, for the uncertainty around him as well? And Justin Fields as well, he's coming up on a fifth-year option that's going to pay north of $20 million if they pick it up. Is that another decision that they're willing to take? With Jacoby Brissett, I know the talent might not be there. I'll give up that point. But on the other hand, he'll come cheaper, and the result will essentially be the same. I don't think the Patriots are coming into this season thinking that they're going to compete for this division, let alone the whole conference. They might be picking in the top 10 again next season. We still have to find out, obviously, with the games, but that's just a thought I'm having. And compared with other quarterbacks just around the league, you look at Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, they finished as the starters on their team, and I don't think Jacoby Brissett is that much worse than a Gardner Minshew or an Aiden O'Connell especially. He's had his experience in the league in New England. He's been in all these different organizations to kind of test out, get a piece of how to operate in different organizations under different coaches. Now he'd be returning to a former coach in Alex Van Pelt in a building he already knows pretty well, that he was drafted there. So I think in comparison, wrapping that all up, it's almost a no-brainer for Jacoby to come back there and play there, at least as a backup, because this all started with the report of the Patriots potentially drafting a quarterback anyway at number 3. I still have the mindset that they should trade back and try to stock up the picks, because this team is still lacking a lot of talent. They have a lot of important free agents on the market right now, and it's almost a guarantee that all of them won't be coming back. You're going to lose some pieces, so you're going to need more draft capital to rebuild the entire roster to be as competitive as you can this next season. So what do you have to lose if you still follow your plan, you still draft a quarterback at 3, and you just sign Jacoby Brissett to a year or 2-year veteran minimum that won't cost you a lot? It'll be cheaper than the other options like I mentioned, and on top of that, Jacoby Brissett has already learned that Patriot way with Bill Belichick, and his coaching and all his expertise that he could bring to a Drake May, a J.J. McCarthy, a Jaden Daniels, whoever they draft at 3, if they go that route, he could bring all that expertise and lay out the foundation of what it means to be a New England Patriot, the responsibility of it. And they're both going to be entering a new situation with Gerard Mayo. It might not be the same Patriot way, but I still believe the foundations of it, the coaching and everything, what to expect out of New England will be. And who better to teach that to a young guy than Jacoby Brissett, who's already learned it under the master of the Patriot way, arguably the best coach of all time in Bill Belichick. And just all of that, it does make sense for Jacoby Brissett. Now, if you want to say, why bring in Jacoby Brissett if you could just stay with Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi potentially? They're still under contract with them. And, that's an idea. It's definitely an option for them to do that if they're going to go with the lowest risk option of keeping all their chips aligned and just going accepting that this year's not going to be their best season and just planning for really the following year, why not just stay with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi? The reason I would give for that is you saw how bad it was this past season, and I think with all these changes that you're making, getting rid of Bill Belichick, there's a lot of free agents on the market, like I mentioned. I think they're really trying, Robert Kraft is really trying to reset everything, get rid of everything that was bad, that was questionable last season, and really just turn the page and try and forget everything of last season. If you stick with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, yeah, it might be around the same skill level of a Jacoby Brissett. You can argue that. But on top of that, I just think they carry a lot of extra baggage, that a lot of negativity from the fans, from people perhaps in the organization that feel that they should already be gone from the team. They don't belong on the team anymore. Their play hasn't supported them earning a roster spot on this team. That is a different discussion if they deserve to be on the team or not. But just to argue against the point that, why not keep them? It's simply for the reason that they just carry a lot of extra bad media attention that you don't want around a Gerard Mayo-led team that is already going to have a lot of pressure on him to perform. And once things start to look a little bit rocky, he doesn't need other people bringing up why he kept Mac Jones. It was obvious that they should have got rid of him. I don't know why he's still on the team. He doesn't need all that extra stuff. And rather than carrying that on him as a low-risk option, I think the next best option for the team to rebuild is to get Jacoby Brissett, bring him in, accept the bumps in the road, but at least you're not trying to make something that didn't work, trying to test it out in a new season and forcing it to work with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. I think both of them have kind of run their course in New England, and with the high standards that all the New England Patriots have become accustomed to, just that city in general, in Boston, with all the success that not only their football teams have, that their basketball teams have, all their sports teams, the Red Sox, the Bruins, and everything, to not have the level of success, there's a lot of standards there to hold up to with the team and amongst the fans. I think they have to change something, and just as a sports fan of itself, I think it's a lot better to see the team trying to change something with the quarterback. Even if it might not work out, it always ends up being better. The fans always end up feeling better than you keeping the same quarterback around, forcing it, trying it to work. If the fans see change, see you trying to make something different of this team, they'll appreciate that, even if it doesn't work, and they won't be clamoring for your name to be out the door sooner rather than later. They'll give you another chance potentially if they do see some positivity coming of that change, because a lot of people, quite frankly, new coaches, don't try to make drastic changes, try to stick around the quarterbacks, and they might try to take as least amount of risk as possible and just try and get by. This is similar, but you are trying to make a change, trying to change the identity of this team with a new quarterback, maybe drafting one as well and planning for the future. Or you can trade it, improve the rest of the team elsewhere, and then next year try and make another move in free agency or drafting a quarterback potentially in that draft to try and help you out in a different way. But wrapping that all together, putting a bow on it right now, Jacoby Brissett seems like the best option for me for this franchise to just move forward and try to start a new chapter. We're going to see where it goes. It's an interesting topic. As the new league year gets closer and closer, they'll definitely be one of the teams that will be active in free agency because they have a lot of cap space, but they also have a lot of free agents to figure out. But as they try to figure out their situation, we're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to move on with the show and with the next segment, that being Jason Kelce. Everyone saw his retirement speech. Everyone has sent him all the messages of him wishing him the best and the rest of what he does with his life post-football. But we're going to talk about what the Eagles plan to do post-Jason Kelce and what they should do, what are their options to do in the offseason to try and establish that offensive line, keep it stable, and still have success going forward. All that plus the questions that still remain after the franchise tag deadline in the NFL. All that is coming up on the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss those.